Good morning and welcome to Dorford Pool in, I think it's Shropshire, Staffordshire border. My name's Simon Crowe and today we're down here for 24 hours to try and catch ourselves a carp. There's some lovely fish in this venue as well. I'm down here with Neil and he's behind the camera at the moment, but he's got his rods out and I'm sure he's probably going to outfish me as well because he fishes here quite a lot and there's some lovely carp in here as well. And quite recently he's had some nice ones, and only yesterday when I arrived I saw some nice fish on show. So fingers crossed something might happen. So if I go running off in a minute, you know why, because my rods are out. Now Dorford Pool itself, it's only a couple of acres in size. It's an exclusive lake booking, this is. It's run through Freshwater Fisheries, I think it is, freshwaterfisheries.co.uk. Ed Matthews, he's the guy that runs it. It's a beautiful water. Obviously at this time of the year it's not the best. We're here in February. It's a bit muddy underfoot, as that squirrel's just shown, just running through the mud there. There's been a lot of rain, as we all know, in the country over the last few weeks, but it still looks very, very beautiful. It's very quiet, very picturesque, and the ideal place to come down if you want a lake exclusive with your mates and also have an opportunity of catching some nice carp. We'll see if we can catch one, but today we're not down here to talk just about this fishery. Obviously, if we catch something, then the story will be about the fishing on this lake. But today we're actually down here to talk about Lake Raduta, one of those forgotten venues. If you've been around carp fishing more than about 30 years, then you might remember Lake Raduta in Romania. It used to be the former world record venue, and it's a really special lake where I've got thousands of stories that I'm going to hopefully try and condense into a 15-minute film. So grab yourself a brew, I'll get a chair, and we'll get stuck into things. So, Lake Raduta in Romania then. I've got 15 minutes to talk about this. I could probably talk all day about it because for 7 years, this particular lake I ran trips to with Rob Hughes. We used to run the British trips to the lake because Romania, back in those days, was quite a difficult place to go to. It wasn't one of the known carp fishing countries. It came on the scene really out of nowhere, and in 1997, the current world record carp was a carp from the River Yonne in France, an 81.5 pounder. It was caught by a guy called 𝗪𝗆. It had been the world record for a number of years. It never looked like it was ever going to get broken as well, because big carp fishing globally overseas in those days was about France. It was about the big waters, the Orients, the Cassians, the 𝗪𝗆. Those were the places that was producing really big special fish. The commercial lakes as we know them today, they was really in their infant years, and they had some 50s and 60s, but they didn't really have the really big global carp that they've got today. Certainly like 𝗪𝗆 as we know it today, which is the current world record lake. That wasn't on the scene. It's been kind of manufactured as well. Most of the big wild lakes was where the potential to break a world record was from. And in those days, Romania was not known as a carp fishing country. It came on the scene out of nowhere. It came via accident really, because what happened was the lake known as Lake Raduta, which is in the 𝗪𝗆 Valley, it had just been purchased by a guy called Robert Raduta, hence its name, Raduta Lake. It's more known widely amongst the Eastern Europeans as 𝗪𝗆 Lake. And Robert had bought the lake, he'd been netting the lake. In the net was a 78-pound mirror. They didn't know anything about carp fishing and they wanted to get it set up. They sent it to a taxidermist in Austria who knew a carp angler by chance. That carp angler's name was Kurt Grabemeyer. As soon as Kurt heard about this 78-pound fish back in 1997, it was like, wow, that is a monster carp. Where's this lake? I need to go there. And from that moment onwards, that's where Lake Raduta was born amongst Western carp anglers, because as soon as Kurt spoke to his mates, the Germans went to the lake, the Austrians went to the lake, the French went to the lake, and eventually the English went to the lake. And I was on the first ever English trip to the lake. That was organised by myself and Rob Hughes. On that trip there was Rod Hutchinson, Kevin Clifford and Mally Roberts, and all I can say is that particular trip, it was just absolutely amazing because we had no idea what we was fishing for. That particular water, nobody knew what the stock was. The lake itself was 2,500 acres in size. There's only a small number of carp in there, and those particular carp had kind of grown wild because the lake used to be it was formed really through the old Romanian dictator 𝗪𝗆 wanted to form a lake or a river connecting the Danube Delta to Bucharest, and he was a bit of a dictator. And in those days, it used to be a bit of a two-tier society. You was either rich in Romania or you was poor, and the poor people got treated quite badly because it's when the old regime was in place. It had just come out of the old Eastern Bloc, and he gave the locals 48 hours notice to move out of the area before he flooded the valley. And one of the villages had a fish farm, and he left his fishing place. And then over the next 20 odd years, 30 years, the fish just flourished and grew to massive proportions. So when this 78 pounder was discovered, no one knew what was in this lake. All we knew was we was fishing for some really exceptional carp on a global scale, and it was really exciting. And I think the first ever trip there, a German guy called 𝗪𝗏𝗪𝗁 caught a 78 pounder. There was also commons to 71 pounds caught, so it was absolutely breathtaking. I can't explain to you how exciting the global carp fishing scene was when that lake was born. But obviously, being in Romania, it was a former Eastern Bloc country. It was a little bit of a difficult country to get to, and the first trip that I went there, I got ushered through as a diplomat, because Robert Raduta, it's fair to say, he was a bit of a connected guy. He was the former Romanian tennis coach, and he knew people in special places. He knew what to do. He knew how to get he knew how to make things happen, let's just say that. And on one occasion, I remember I used to take through the payments from the English guys in 𝗖𝗪𝗪𝗁, because this was before the euro took place. I used to take through cash, big bundles of cash for him. And on one occasion, he turned around to me and he said, I don't want you to bring any cash this time. I want you to bring me 20 fox bivvies, because trying to travel from England and France and Europe to Romania and places like that. Got a bite? I think Neil's got a bite. Yes, he has. I can hear his buzzer going. We're just going to have to cut it quickly now because Neil's got a fish on. So let's get round there and have a look at Neil playing this fish, because action in February, it's always worth talking about.
Oh no, it's a common. Oh, be that 30-pound common. Right, come on then, boy, here he comes. Oh no, he's not that big. Yes, Crowy. Yes, Crowy.
He'll do, mate. That's got to be up there,
It's up there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's definitely up there. Well done, mate.
How about that for a lovely looking common? Rudely interrupted in the middle of filming Crowy, but I don't mind at all. Just over 27 pounds. Give him a quick kiss and a cuddle. Put him back and we'll get back over there to Crowy.
Bit of action. Neil's just had a lovely 27 pounder. That is an absolutely beautiful carp. And he's also seen, whilst off camera, you didn't see this, whilst I was talking to the camera, he's been pointing because he's seen some carp show off one of the islands. He was going, oh, so he knows this lake like the back of his hand. And when he starts doing that, you know a bite is imminent. So let's just hope now during camera we get a bite of my rods as well, which is just down here. But I think I was saying about Robert Raduta being connected, and I think I'd also said that I used to run the trips over there, and obviously the English guys back in those days used to pay myself and Rob, and we used to take money over in 𝗖𝗪𝗪𝗁, because this is pre-Euros, and Robert used to get paid in 𝗖𝗪𝗪𝗁. That's the way he used to like it. But one day he rang me up and said, today I don't want you to bring any 𝗖𝗪𝗪𝗁, I want you to get me 20 fox bivvies. And there was only 7 days to go till the trip was due to leave. So getting some fox bivvies within 7 days is it's a proper hard task. Even nowadays it is, but this is obviously 30 years ago. And I can remember ringing up Max Cottis at Fox saying, can you get me 20 fox bivvies? He said, yeah, no problem, but they're not going to get there for next Wednesday because of the freight terms and stuff like that. You need to book it in. And I spoke to Robert Raduta. He said to me, speak to TAROM Romanian Airlines, which is the company that we used to book with. They'll sort it out. They'll know who I am, and they'll allow it to be taken on board with you. So I rang this lady up, and it's a bit of a long story, but it's funny at the end of it, because her name was Mrs. 𝗖𝗔𝗥𝗣𝗆, and I turned around to her and I said, hi, I'm ringing on behalf of Robert Raduta, and apparently I can get 20 bivvies taken over with as our own luggage next Wednesday. And she said, there's no chance of that happening. How big are these items? I told her they're like tents. She said, no chance. They've got to go over as freight. You've got to get it booked in. They might get over within the next 2 weeks. So I rang Robert Raduta back, and he was out hunting at the time. And typical Eastern European, a little bit abrupt and straight to the point. He turned around to me and he went, because I said, there's no way this is going to happen. And he said, ring Blair. This is Robert, who's connected. I'm not connected at all. I was Simon Crow from Carp Talk. Blair? Who do you mean, Blair? Tony Blair. He was the former Prime Minister of England. What? I can't ring Tony Blair up and say, can we get these bivvies taken over for next Wednesday? And, you know, Simon Crow from Carp Talk, Tony, how are you? You know, it was difficult getting pictures off carp anglers, let alone talking to the British Prime Minister. So I said, look, Robert, that's not going to happen. Ring this woman back, tell her who I am. So I did that. So I rang her up. Hi, Mrs. 𝗖𝗔𝗥𝗣𝗆, it's Simon Crow again. And if I turn around to you and say, this is Robert Raduta that these bivvies want to go over with, can that help? I have never heard of Robert Raduta. I have no idea who this man is, but tell him there's no chance these bivvies are going over. End of story. They must go freight. That's my Romanian accent, by the way. So I rang Robert back and I said, Robert, this woman just won't have it. Okay, leave it to me. Phone went dead. About 2 minutes later, this Mrs. 𝗖𝗔𝗥𝗣𝗆 rang me up, and she's gone, completely different voice. Hello, Mr. Crow. How are you today? I'm fine, thank you. All the bivvies is sorted. It's all going over as the hand luggage of the pilot. 20 Fox bivvies going over as the personal hand luggage of the pilot. That is somebody connected. And Robert Raduta was connected, or is connected if he's still around today, I don't know. And on one occasion we had the World Carp Cup. I think it was the 1999 World Carp Cup, held at the Presidential Palace. That's the equivalent of having the British World Carp Cup at the Houses of Parliament or Buckingham Palace. And presenting the prizes was not only Robert Raduta, there was the Romanian Prime Minister, who, when we was flying over to Bucharest, on the Tarom Romanian Airlines in-flight catalogues, there was a picture of him stood with George Bush shaking hands. So, you know, he's properly connected, Robert Raduta was. And I could tell you millions of stories about him. Great stories, great times. On one occasion I had a plane stopped for me because I was late getting to the airport, but Robert had stopped the plane for me for 20 minutes. That's carp fishing for you, you know. It wouldn't happen in these days though, would it? But, you know, great times, great stories, and a lovely guy. I really got on with him very well. And we ran many trips, successful trips to Lake Raduta. Great carp that was caught over there as well. I managed to catch some lovely carp to 52 pounds myself. But, you know, back in the 90s, 52 pound carp was a big carp overseas, let alone in England as well. And on one occasion I saw Sandy Hoff catch a 72 pound common. That was absolutely gigantic, a huge carp. And he was an English guy, Sandy Hoff. You know, sounds Scottish, but he's an English guy from Cheshire, and he caught this massive carp of 72 pounds. And to a young guy, seeing a 72 pounder on the mat for the first time was just like, wow, what a carp. And we had quite a few British guys go over there and catch some really good carp. Tim Paisley caught a 72, 73 pounder, I can't remember. Paul Jones caught a 61. Rob Marsh a 60 pounder. Gary Christopher, I think he caught a 67 pound common. These are really, really exceptional carp. You know, at a time when those kind of carp, they didn't exist in the commercial lakes. You've not got what you've got now, where you've got these lakes with 100 pounders in a 2-acre lake, or, you know, like 𝗖𝗔𝗥𝗆𝗆, which is about 15, 16 acres in size, with all this massive density of big carp. You know, this is a 2,500 acre wild lake where you had to locate them, and there weren't many, and it was really difficult fishing. Ask the guys from back in the days when we fished on there. It was a really special water and had a really amazing environment about it as well, because not only did it have big carp, including the world record carp, which was an 82, at the time it was an 82 pounder that got caught. The trip after I did the first trip in 1998, it was May 1998, a group of Austrians, really famous photograph of a guy called Christian Baldermeer, who caught an 82 pound 3-ounce mirror. Absolutely colossal fish. Very famous in the days of Carp Talk as well. You might remember, because on the front cover of the magazine in those days, it wasn't, this is obviously pre-digital, so you didn't get your photographs overnight. You had to wait for these photographs to come through the post. They had to be developed and stuff like that. And I remember when we got the photographs on the news desk, this short guy, who was only about 5'2", Christian was, and he was holding this 82 pound mirror, and it was basically like that, just holding this colossal fish with this little head over the top. Really famous photo. Even now, when I see it on the internet, that photograph, because it's been passed around, it still brings, you know, a real special feeling, because it was an awesome carp. It had an amazing sense of awesomeness to it on the carp scene. And that's what Lake Raduta was like. It was a really special lake, not just with these big colossal carp in there, but all these stories that were passed down from different anglers that went there, because, as I said before, there were sunken villages in the water. There was a church steeple at one end, and occasionally the water levels would go up and down, and on one occasion it went really down when it was a really warm summer or spring, and the wind used to blow really strong from the Baltic area, and it was really open, the lake was. There's no trees around it at all, because all the gypsies on the banks used to cut all the trees down for firewood, and it was really open, so when the wind blew it really disturbed the margins. And this church bay was known for having this little steeple sticking out in the one corner, and you went around it with your boat and your echo sounder, and you saw these little stumps appearing. There was all the gravestones, and on one occasion when the water levels were really low, the water had really opened up the banks, and scattered all around Church Bay was not just the gravestones, but the bones and open graves, the clothes. And many an angler who fished in that area will tell you the stories of occasionally casting out or putting your baits out, reeling in the morning. You've got a pair of trousers on the end, or a jumper, somebody's clothing that was in one of the graves. And it was known also for having a lot of gypsies around the lake, and shepherds who had a lot of flocks of sheep to look after. And these shepherds used to have their own dogs, and at night they were just left to roam around the land. And with these anglers being suddenly appearing on the banks with food, who used to feed them, the dogs used to gather around your bivvy. And I can remember on one occasion, before I first saw what I'm about to tell you, I remember being in the bivvy, hearing these dogs behind the bivvy at night in pitch black, because the 𝗖𝗪 Valley had no, not electricity, but it had no street lights or anything like that. It was just black, and you saw the little village lights, and behind the bivvy I could hear these dogs gnawing on stuff. And I got up in the morning on this first occasion when I realised what was happening, and I could see these bones in the mouths, and I was like, well, they're big bones. Didn't really think anything of it until the next night, when I had a screaming run in the dark. And this is just how unobservant I am. I had this screaming run in the dark, and got the rod in hand. I was half asleep, got my head torch on, which is a really powerful head torch, and I'm just about to push the boat out in the margins, because the water was really murky, but sometimes it went really settled and you could see through it. And I just remember turning this head torch on, getting in the boat and pushing the boat out, and seeing below the boat this human skeleton, minus the head, under the boat with its trousers on and everything. I was like, what? A proper double take, seeing this skeleton in the water. And then obviously when I'd woke up and I put two and two together, the bones, when I took a closer look at things, the bones that the dogs were gnawing on were human bones, leg bones, arm bones. It was just littered with bones all around Church Bay. And go on the internet now and just Google it and see the photographs. And there's some of my photos up there as well. It was just amazing, quite harrowing scenes on the banks, but it was normal. It was a part of Lake Raduta. So you not just had these amazing carp, which I can't explain to you how amazing they were back then, because nowadays we've been completely ruined by the size of fish, certainly with the commercial lakes. And that's something that Rod Hutchinson many years ago said would happen. He said that the amount of bait that's going into the commercial lakes, eventually we will get carp pushed on the boundaries of natural sizes. And the natural sizes generally is on these big open waters, these big natural lakes like your Orients, your Radutas, your Cassians, topping out around the 80 to 85 pound mark. You know, these commercial lakes with the bait, they've pushed beyond those kind of weights. There's some special carp that's out there now in the commercial lakes, but on the wild, open, windswept public lakes, as we call them, 70 pounds of special carp. 80 pounders are really, really exceptional fish. So that world record carp that Christian Baldermay caught was exceptional. And I'm very proud of the fact that I saw some really good carp on the banks at Lake Raduta, and saw some amazing sights, and made an awful lot of amazing friends on that lake, who today I sometimes meet at the shows, meet up with. We've all got these great memories that we talk about from Lake Raduta. For a 7-8 year period, it was a really exceptional place where you kind of wanted to go there, you dreamt about going there, and then when you got there, it was kind of awful at the same time. but it was special as well. So when you got home, you wanted to be back there. But when you was actually there, on some occasions in 40-degree heat with no trees around you, only a bit of nylon protection from the bivvy, Romania was quite a harsh environment to go to. But it was an amazing place with some amazing carp, and I have so many great memories of it.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Gorgeous. As soon as he's up, guys, shoot away.
Yeah.
One of the originals, Cruy. One of them glorious originals, fella. Isn't it magnificent?
You're going to see a little bit of footage in this film about the place. You're going to see a few photographs, and I hope it's giving you a little bit of an insight into what I think is a kind of forgotten venue, a forgotten section of carp fishing. It's easy to forget what happened in the past, but Lake Raduta for 7 years was very special, and how it all ended really was quite unfortunate, because it was around about 2005. The lake had a massive fish kill, completely wiped out. All of the original carp went, and I believe there still are carp in there now, but they're not quite the same as those original strain of fish, the ones that came from that original fish farm that made those exceptional weights at a time when the global carp fishing scene really needed something special, and Lake Raduta was very, very special. Far cry from the size of carp we're fishing for today. 80 pounders, a magnificent fish, but today we've just seen Neil with a lovely 27 pounder. I haven't yet caught, and I'm hoping that I'm going to catch a carp before I leave here, but if I don't, I hope you've enjoyed listening to me talk about Lake Raduta, and if I do, then over the next couple of minutes you might see me holding a nice Dorford lake carp. But either way, hopefully I shall see you again very soon, either on this channel or on my own YouTube channel, which is Simon Crow Carp Fishing. Well, it might not be a world record carp from Lake Raduta in Romania, but I tell you what, carp fishing means different things to different people on different days, and I am very, very happy with that gorgeous Dorford 𝗵𝗁. Probably about 18, 20 pounds, something like that. Absolutely stunning. And as you've seen today, this venue really is a gorgeous place. So if you're interested in booking it out, get on freshwaterfisheries.co.uk. Massive thanks to Ed Matthews for letting us come down here today and film, and most of all I hope you guys have enjoyed listening to me talk a little bit about one of the most historic carp waters ever.
In the 60s, Ceausescu wanted to make Bucharest a port. He wanted to have a channel to travel by boat to the Black Sea, and therefore he flooded this area. There was a river valley, and he built some dams and let the villagers to know only a few days before starting flooding. Also in this valley there was fish farms, carp farms, and the farmers had no time to take out the fishes, so the carps remained in this flooded area. The lake has inside a lot of trees, houses, there are some graveyards, a low density, a very good water quality, a lot of food for them, so they became the biggest carps in the world.